Hi there, my name is Steve Snapp, and thank you for joining me in this segment where we're going to talk about the Salesforce project document. What we've included in the original email that we sent you, in addition to a copy of the NDA and the budgetary quote, is a copy of what we call the Salesforce project document. Now, there's also a link to a Google Doc available to you, so you can use this in Google or Excel. Really depends on what you're more comfortable with. But the basic idea is we wanted to give you a tool where you could begin to capture key decisions that you've made and also give you something that you can work on as you begin to build momentum within your team. Now, I've said in other videos that a major part of our philosophy is ways that we reduce risk. And so, as I've said in other videos, the way that we reduce risk is by building momentum and establishing some kind of weekly or bi-weekly rhythm. And so the purpose of this document is to give you something that you can use as you if you need to, as you perform those meetings. Where do you capture key decisions, and what's the framework that you'll use for that? So with that, you can use Google, like I said, or you can use Excel, doesn't really matter. But one of the first things that I recommend that you do is set up some kind of internal weekly meeting. Now, the day doesn't really matter. We tend to do our client meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We do that for a couple of reasons. One, we generally find that you don't have a lot of conflicts with Mondays or Fridays. There might be a holiday on a Friday, or some holidays are on Mondays. Generally speaking, there's not a lot of pressure from a holiday perspective on the Tuesday and Thursday cycle. So if you end up meeting with us on some kind of rhythm, I would say, let's say you meet with us on Tuesdays at 3:00. Well, then maybe you have your internal meeting on Thursday, or the other way around. You might want to do your internal on Tuesday, and then we have our meeting on Thursday, just because that gives you guys the time to review previous things from the previous week, et cetera. Again, the schedule doesn't matter too much, but I just wanted to get a little bit practical in terms of how you kind of set that up. Now, one of the other things that you want to do is you want to begin to set your priorities. You want to begin to identify, I'll talk a little bit about the document here, but you want to begin to identify your priorities. And like I said a moment ago, document those and capture those in a tool that you can use. And then finally, that means capturing decisions. So let me take just a quick minute. I'm going to go into much more detail in other videos, not only about these tabs, but also some other techniques such as process modeling and other things that you can do to kind of begin to define some of your key workflows. So when you log in, when you open up the document, you'll have a Getting Started tab. Obviously, I'm making this Getting Started video number 5 right now. So this section of Getting Started will probably have close to 15 videos with links to those videos. So again, we're just in the middle of doing that. But in the Getting Started tab, you'll have all of the videos that we're also emailing you. So whether you're getting them via email, whether you are going to a playlist on YouTube, or whether you're coming here, you're going to have a place where you can capture all these videos. The second thing is the action list. And basically the idea here is, as you guys identify things that need to be done, you just capture in the action list. And it's pretty simple. You have item number 1, research, data lists. I'm going to assign that to Steve. If you've got an example, or if you're using this tool, Vidyard, to sort of describe it, you can do that. And then you may want to categorize it. You may give it a status like new, or complete, or pending, etc. The reason I do this is there's a lot of different tools to track to-do lists. This is not meant to replace any of those. If you have a technique or a tool that you use internally, Microsoft Teams, Trello, whatever, feel free to do that as well. The goal here is just to give you a tool that you can use in your weekly meetings to kind of capture things that are being done and things that need to be done. One neat thing about Google Doc is if you turn on One neat thing about Google Docs is if you turn on filters, then you can actually filter out things that are open, things that are pending, etc. Again, not trying to advocate one tool over another. The point is just to have it all in one place. One thing that we do a lot of, and I'm recording this video using a tool called Vidyard, is that we will often use Vidyard to make requirement videos. Won't go into a lot of detail on that here, but the point is, if there's a specific to do, or you want to capture exactly what you're thinking, then you can make a Vidyard, throw a link to that video here in the notes. And that's usually useful if you're asking someone else to do something. So we use it very heavily with our dev team So we'll define what we want, and then we articulate it in a video, and then they've got some details. So maybe not such a big deal if you're doing something simple like this, but if you're trying to convey a concept and one of your people weren't on the meeting, you could do that. The other thing you could also do is not so much here in the action list, but if you're capturing key behaviors or key workflows in a GoToMeeting or something, you can paste a link from that recorded video or that recorded meeting. Another great way to just sort of bring people up to speed. And I didn't put it in here, but that brings up a great idea, is that you might, if you are doing GoToMeetings with people in other places and you're recording those, I'd probably add another tab here just called Meetings, and just you have a link to all of the meetings that you've had on this project. So if you're doing a weekly meeting, at the end of the year, you might have 52 videos. That might be a lot, but the point is, you could always go back and say, hey, we talked about that on that March 24th meeting. So in this example, I might just add a new tab. Let me see if I can do that real quick. Doesn't seem like it's adding it. I won't get too bogged down to that, but I think as the video won't show, but the point is I'd add another tab called Meetings and capture that. The point I'm really trying to make is a place to capture all your key decisions. Your goal here is to bring your team sort of up to speed and in alignment to what you're going on and what you're working towards. So start with the basic action list. The results behavior tab, talked about in a previous video. It's about defining the things that you want your team to accomplish. So super simple columns here. What's the result that we want? The result might be increase revenue by 10%. The behavior might be we need to establish 10 new relationships every month. Actually, that's probably more a metric. Behavior might be you want them to do new business development. The metric might be 10 new prospects a month or something like that. Maybe not a great example. Then the formula and how you calculate it. Now, when I mentioned the formula here, the example that I just gave wasn't a very good one for the formula, because that's not really a formula-driven thing. What I meant by formula is if you're doing a metric where you're calculating, let's say, a revenue increase year over year, then you might put in here that the formula is year-to-date revenue, minus prior year-to-date revenue divided by, year-to-date revenue. That would be a percent growth kind of thing. So it just gives you a way and a worksheet. And one key element about this document is there's a time to fill it out and there's a time not to. So if something doesn't automatically resonate, throw it in the document, leave it in a pending status, or put some question marks next to it, to let you know that you've got some more work to do on it. But don't force it. You want to go with kind of a natural flow here. So the results behavior tab is just a way for you to capture basic things. And what we're going to do eventually is we're going to use that to drive things that are downstream, like our dashboard design. So for example, if we want to track the number of new prospects per month, to use that earlier example, well, then you're going to want a way to capture that. And you're going to want to know when someone was a prospect and when they were a prospect. So that's going to drive your data model. It's going to tell you what things you need to capture there. It's going to tell you what data details, what fields, et cetera. And then it'll drive your layouts, et cetera. So you start to get a feel of how these things connect. The next tab is a workflow summary. And I said in other videos that one of the key things you're doing in implementing Salesforce is you're identifying the relationship between people, process, and technology. And so what you're looking at there is what are the processes that we need to enable through technology our people to do. So part of that is defining those processes. And I've got another video that'll be in this Getting Started series that talks about how to process model. So I won't cover that here. This is simply meant to be a place where you capture some of those key workflows. So let's say a quote, you get an opportunity, you generate a quote. Let's say you want that quote to be entered into an ERP system when it's closed. Does that quote, for example, get closed in Salesforce and then we push it into ERP? Does someone do that? That's an example of a workflow that you want to have. I want to give that a name. I want to have a basic description of how it works. And then by capturing it here, you can come back to it during the implementation and make sure that, number one, the process is correct. And if it is correct, then you want to make sure that you can test against that and everything else. So as I said, in a future video, I'll get into more detail about process modeling, but the idea is to capture some of that. So the purpose here in this video is just to sort of mention these first couple of tabs. These tabs, data model, data details, those things that happen later in the implementation, those things are where you start to capture key details about your data model, et cetera. And those aren't usually things you're doing in the early stages. In a lot of cases, those are things that we're doing with clients during the risk-free prototype. But again, if you haven't decided to do the risk-free prototype and you want to start to model some of those, I'll have some future videos that get into just some of the basic ideas in there. So with that, just want to end by saying that if you haven't already started the risk-free prototype and you're ready, go ahead and click on the link in the email or in the video and schedule a quick initiation call where we'll finalize some details, we'll pick some dates and times that work, we'll get the meeting rhythm established, and we'll go ahead and start the process. Again, if you're not ready to start the risk-free prototype, keep up your weekly meetings, start working on completing this project document. And if you have any questions throughout the process, shoot us an email, shoot us a comment on any one of our videos, and we look forward to helping you, number one, reduce risk and implement Salesforce successfully. Thank you.